where each day is a journey of connection and sharing. A place where we can put our full trust in the other person without worry, without questioning whether that love remains intact. But have you ever stopped to ask yourself, does the relationship we consider perfect truly reflect what we think? Beneath the glittering exterior, there may be things we unintentionally overlook as silent gestures, unspoken words, or sometimes avoidance in moments when attention is needed most. Each of these small signs can easily be missed because they are so subtle, so easily overshadowed by the beautiful moments of life. But if we don't stop, if we're not quiet enough to listen, these signs will never disappear on their own. They will quietly grow, infiltrating the deep emotions we fail to notice. And when the relationship begins to fall apart, that's when we realize that these cracks have existed for a long time. We were only looking at the perfect outside and forgot about what truly needed care from within. Schopenhauer once said, "People live in a world full of illusions and self-deception. And in relationships, we are the ones who easily fall into that trap. When we love, when we trust, we seek peace in promises, in tight embraces, in comforting words. And in that moment, we convince ourselves that everything is fine, that if we just try hard enough, it will all pass." But it is precisely in those moments, when we turn a blind eye to the signs of things being wrong, that we are the first to deceive ourselves. We tell ourselves, just a little, it will pass. And then, when everything explodes, we realize that we have built a beautiful illusionary world, and when it shatters, there's nothing left to hold on to. We may delude ourselves into thinking love will overcome all, that everything is just a temporary challenge. But in reality, each time we avoid facing the truth, we are allowing small cracks to form into a deep hole that is hard to fill. Yet, the most painful thing is not when the relationship falls apart, but when we realize that we have been deceiving ourselves for so long, putting too much faith in invisible promises, and losing sight of the truth we needed to face. Because when love and trust are placed in the wrong places, we are left with nothing but vague regrets, wishing we had seen more clearly, wishing we hadn't deceived ourselves. Gaslighting, when you are made to doubt yourself. Gaslighting is a ruthless psychological tactic that gradually makes you doubt yourself, little by little. It happens when those you trust, those you believe will always be there for you, begin to deny your feelings and thoughts. They will gently make you feel like what you're experiencing is wrong, that you are imagining things, or being too sensitive. And slowly, you start questioning yourself. Am I feeling this correctly? Or is everything just something I imagined? These aren't direct words, but a series of subtle manipulations. Phrases like, "You're overreacting," "I never said that," or "You're probably just feeling that way because you're too sensitive," act like an invisible blade, cutting deeper into your mind. These denials not only make you confused but also slowly cause you to lose trust in your own feelings, to the point where you can no longer distinguish what is real and what are your genuine emotions. That feeling is hard to describe, but it's like a shadow gradually enveloping your soul. You start to feel as though you can't trust what you're feeling, that everything in your life seems to be slipping through your hands. And subconsciously, you lose yourself in unanswerable questions, wondering if you're too weak or too sensitive. Gaslighting is not just manipulation. It is like an undercurrent, silently sweeping away your self-awareness. It makes you forget that your feelings are valid, that you deserve to be listened to and respected. And in the process, you begin to forget yourself, forgetting that you have every right to trust your feelings and judgments. You say, "I feel uncomfortable when you do that," The other person responds with a vague statement. No, you're just imagining things. Nothing happened. A seemingly simple statement, but with tremendous power. You begin to feel like your genuine feelings are meaningless. From these gentle denials, you start to doubt yourself. The feeling that you once thought was rational, an integral part of who you are, now becomes something you dare not believe. Am I thinking too much? Do I really feel this way? Or is it just a product of my imagination? These questions keep repeating in your head, making you self-doubt. These denials will not just stop at a moment. They will slowly erode your confidence, making it hard to recognize your true feelings. At first, you might console yourself by thinking it's just a misunderstanding, but gradually, it becomes a continuous pattern, making it impossible to differentiate between what you feel and what others want you to feel. You no longer trust yourself because you've been convinced that your feelings are wrong, unreasonable, and imagined. Slowly, you lose the ability to trust your judgment. A feeling of uncertainty and confusion begins to fill your soul. You live in a world of ambiguity, where every decision and every emotion must be double-checked because you've learned not to trust what you feel. And the more you live in this state of self-doubt, the more you lose your inner strength. Your feelings, your judgments, your thoughts, everything becomes something you cannot grasp, something you cannot trust. In the end, you no longer know what is real, and the greatest loss is that you can no longer find yourself in that hazy world. Violation of personal boundaries. When your private space is invaded, personal boundaries are invisible but essential layers of protection, psychological and physical spaces that each person creates to maintain their integrity. It is where you have the right to be yourself, where your thoughts, feelings, and decisions are respected. These boundaries are not just the distinction between physical space, but also the protection of the deepest values, beliefs, and emotions within your soul. When these boundaries are violated, you will feel as though a part of yourself is being encroached upon, as if your privacy is being erased, and you are no longer yourself in this world. When someone crosses the boundaries you have carefully set up, even through small actions, you will feel like you are being attacked in invisible but incredibly important spaces. It could be when they intrude on your physical space without permission, or even when they listen to, invade your thoughts, or interfere with feelings you want to keep private. These actions, though seemingly harmless to others, feel like an invasion of your psychological territory, making you feel out of control and disrespected. Little by little, these violations make you feel like you are losing the right to make decisions about your own life. Every time you have to give in, every time you cannot protect your private space, it feels like a deep wound in your soul. You start to feel that you are no longer the one in control of your life, but instead are being controlled by the disrespect of those around you. When your private space is invaded, it's not just your physical body that is violated. Your soul is also harmed. This feeling of losing control will gradually erode the autonomy that you once cherished. The private emotions you used to keep to yourself are suddenly exposed, and the safety you once found in your own space is now threatened. You no longer feel free to make decisions, nor do you have the ability to express yourself sincerely without fear of judgment or intrusion. Gradually, these violations will create a profound exhaustion, a confusion that you cannot share with anyone. This loss is not only about privacy, but about respect, self-esteem, and the peace of mind you once had. You will begin to feel as though a part of you is slowly disappearing, and each day that passes, you will feel more and more like you can no longer find your footing in life. as even the boundaries of your own self are not respected by others. Ultimately, you will be forced to face emptiness, a space with no protection, where you are no longer yourself. You ask for a bit of alone time to work or relax, a quiet space to nurture your soul and recharge. This is a normal need so you can remain alert and feel balanced in life. But instead of respecting this request, the other person repeatedly invades your private space, as if they do not realize the value of the quiet you need to feel peaceful. When you gently ask them not to disturb you while you focus, they continue to pull you into demands, making you feel as though you no longer have control over your own time and space. These invasions not only break your concentration, but also invade the precious moments you need to recover and restore your energy. When your personal boundaries are not respected, the sense of losing freedom is not just present in the moment but silently rises in your soul. Each time your requests are ignored, you will feel as if you no longer have the right to decide about your own life. That feeling, although invisible, reaches deep inside, making you begin to feel like a shadow in your own space in life. Your mental health will gradually become fragile because when you do not have personal space to breathe and find peace within, you will feel like you are being swept away in a chaotic life. The constant disturbance prevents you from finding the stillness you need to listen to your true thoughts and emotions. Your mind becomes tired, stressed, and you cannot regenerate the clarity needed to face the world outside. When your private space is violated without respect, you will begin to feel like you are being overshadowed, with no place left in this relationship. In the end, you will feel like you are slowly losing yourself, losing the right to be yourself, in a world full of endless demands that you cannot refuse. Exploiting the victim role when the other person always blames you. There are people who, instead of facing their actions and taking responsibility, choose to play the victim role. They use their personal suffering and failures as weapons, making you feel as if you must bear the burden of all mistakes. In doing so, they not only avoid responsibility, but also pull you into a vicious cycle of guilt, making you believe that all the tension and conflict are your fault. Their emotions and struggles become tools for manipulating you, making you feel like you're the only one who needs to change in order to solve all the problems, even though you are not the cause. When someone continuously blames you, even though you are not wrong, you will begin to irrationally feel that you are at fault. That sense of guilt will gradually seep into your mind, blurring the fairness in the relationship. You will become the one who always has to take responsibility for every mishap, even though you did not cause them. From there, the relationship becomes an unfair game where you always have to fix mistakes you didn't make. Gradually, this manipulation will cause you to lose confidence and a sense of safety in the relationship. You will feel like you are the only one carrying all the burdens, while the other person takes no responsibility for their actions. This feeling will not only drain you physically, but also weaken your spirit, leaving you unable to see clearly what the truth is or the respect you deserve. In the end, you will feel like you are losing yourself, becoming someone with no voice, only enduring unreasonable responsibilities that go unrecognized. Every time there is a conflict, instead of facing it and finding a solution together, the other person quickly blames you, saying that you are the sole cause of all the problems, even though you know you are not at fault. They might say, "It's all your fault. If it weren't for you, things wouldn't be this bad." These words, though short, carry the weight of a burden on your heart. You begin to feel like you are the only one at fault, even though you haven't done anything wrong, and this guilt lingers in your mind, making you wonder if you truly caused what happened. When the other person continually exploits the victim role and blames you for everything, even though you are not the cause, you will gradually start to feel irrationally responsible, that you must bear the weight of all the unfairness in this relationship. This nameless guilt will eat away at your confidence, making you lose your sense of fairness and the respect you deserve. You begin to feel as though you must be the one to bear every problem, and all the responsibility falls on you, even though you didn't create any of it. Gradually, you will be trapped in a cycle of guilt and unreasonable responsibility, slowly losing your freedom in the relationship. You will feel as though you are being pushed into a corner where every decision and action is not respected and your feelings are not acknowledged. This relationship will slowly become a deeply unfair place where you lose yourself and no longer recognize what the truth is or what fairness you deserve. Disregarding your time and effort, a clear lack of respect. Time is something we can never get back, which makes every moment precious. When you dedicate your time to someone or something, it's a way of showing your care and respect for them. For example, when you spend time with family and friends or work hard to complete a task, you're prioritizing those things. Therefore, when others don't respect your time, they're not only wasting your time, but they're also showing that they don't truly value you. Your time is a valuable asset, and if someone doesn't appreciate that, they are clearly disrespecting you. When others disregard the time and effort you put in, you will feel devalued. This can happen in many situations, such as when others are late without informing you, fail to follow through on commitments, or don't acknowledge your preparation and hard work. You might have spent time planning, preparing for a meeting, or working hard to complete a task, but if they don't respect what you've done, you'll feel unappreciated. When your time and effort aren't valued, you may feel overlooked, as if you aren't important to them. When others disregard your time and effort, you'll feel tired and disappointed. These feelings will gradually build up and affect your relationship with them. You may feel like you no longer have control over your time and effort, and begin to question whether you truly matter in their eyes. If this happens repeatedly, you'll feel drained, as you're constantly giving but not receiving the respect you deserve. This feeling can diminish your motivation and enthusiasm in both relationships and work. Eventually, you'll realize that you need to protect your time and effort because you deserve to be valued and respected just as you do for others. You spend precious time preparing for an important meeting or gathering, hoping to create meaningful connections and achieve positive outcomes. However, the other person repeatedly cancels meetings without providing a clear reason, or arrives late without notifying you. These actions not only make you feel like your preparation and effort were in vain, but they also make you question the value they place on you and the relationship. Decreasing effort in a relationship when you're no longer a priority. Every relationship starts with sweet moments and boundless enthusiasm. You feel the genuine care, tender actions, and special attention from your partner. Everything feels new, and each meeting is an opportunity to connect more deeply. However, over time, as the initial romance gives way to familiarity, one partner may begin to reduce their efforts. The gestures of affection, the heartfelt conversations, slowly turn into boring routines, and you start to realize that you're no longer a priority in their life. When one person in the relationship no longer spends time or energy on the other, the connection begins to fade. Dates are no longer cherished, and expressions of concern become shallow and insincere. The deep care you once felt is replaced by neglect and forgetfulness. You begin to feel pushed aside, no longer the focus of your partner's life. When you're no longer a priority, you gradually begin to feel abandoned in your own relationship. This feeling doesn't only hurt your self-esteem, but also erodes the trust and connection between you. You begin to wonder if you still matter to the other person and if you truly deserve the love and care you want. The relationship becomes imbalanced as you struggle to maintain the bond while your partner seems to drift away. Eventually, you will realize that you're holding onto a one-sided relationship where you give everything but don't receive the respect you deserve. When your time is not respected, frustration will gradually take over your mind. You start to feel like your efforts and investment become invisible, unrecognized. Each time a date is canceled or overlooked, you will clearly feel that you're not valued. This gradually erodes your self-worth, making you feel like just an option rather than a priority. This lack of respect not only hurts your value in the relationship, but also makes you question how important you really are to your partner. When your time and effort are disregarded, the relationship loses its connection and trust, leaving a huge emotional gap between the two of you. At first, your relationship was full of care and attention. They always made time for you, listened to your thoughts, and showed up whenever you needed them. You felt a strong bond, as if you were the most important person in their life. But over time, those small, loving actions began to dwindle. The evenings they once spent talking with you are now replaced by silence. The greetings become superficial, and you begin to feel as if you've been left behind. You realize that you're no longer a priority in their life, and the care you once received now feels like a faint memory. This lack of attention doesn't happen overnight, but gradually, it begins to infiltrate both your emotions and your mind. You start to feel like you're living in a one-sided relationship, where you're still trying to maintain the connection, but not receiving the care you deserve. This makes you feel abandoned, as if their love and care are slowly fading away. These feelings not only damage your self-esteem, but also make you feel like you no longer matter to them. The feeling of loneliness will slowly invade, even when you're still present in their life. You might feel empty even while sitting together, and that's the most painful part when you're still there, but no longer feeling loved. This relationship begins to lose its connection, turning into a cohabitation of habits, lacking sharing and understanding. This can lead to increasing anxiety about your worth in the relationship, and sometimes you'll ask yourself whether you truly deserve the love and care you once received. When you begin to recognize the signs of disrespect and manipulation in a relationship, even though the truth may be painful and hard to accept, it is the first step towards freeing yourself from unhealthy relationships. Facing the truth, even though it may cause you pain, is truly a powerful and courageous act. If you continue to live in deceit and lack of transparency, the hurt will only accumulate, leaving you feeling drained and exhausted. But when you dare to confront the truth, that is when you begin to free yourself from the grip of lies and take the first step toward rebuilding a life where you are no longer burdened by the things that have held back your heart and mind. Once you've clearly identified manipulation and disrespect, the next step is to take action to protect yourself. Don't be afraid to change, even though change may bring uncertainty and loneliness. In fact, change is not about giving up, but about affirming that you deserve to live in a healthy and joyful environment. Sometimes, protecting yourself means stepping away from relationships that no longer bring peace. This act is not just escaping from pain, but an important step in reclaiming your freedom and self-trust. When you courageously change, you will rediscover your inherent strength and realize that you deserve to be loved and respected. And when you dare to act to protect yourself, not only will your self-esteem be restored, but it will also open the door to building a new life, one filled with healthy relationships and abundant love. You deserve to live in relationships where mutual respect is the foundation. Protecting yourself is not just about freeing yourself from pain, but also about creating space for genuine connections, where you can be yourself without fear of being hurt. When you choose to protect yourself, you will no longer have to endure toxic relationships. Instead, you will find true peace and happiness because you have decided that you deserve to live in relationships that nurture, respect, and love you. Thank you for taking the time to watch today's video. I hope the insights shared in this video have helped you gain a clearer understanding of how to protect yourself, recognize, and free yourself from unhealthy relationships. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss any future videos. Remember, you deserve to be loved, respected, and to live in healthy relationships. Wishing you strength and happiness. See you in the next video.